everybody's looking to grow their business. Now, whether that means increasing the revenue and increasing the profits, or they're growing their team and how to manage all of that growth, how to handle finances as the company grows. So many of the difficulties and challenges in business really have growth of the company as an underlying thing. Hi, it's Marty Park, and welcome to another episode of Elevating Extraordinary Entrepreneurs. This is our third episode, and the whole point of this for me was there's so many great business owners and entrepreneurs out there that people don't know what a great story they have, and we wanted to really just showcase people who are sort of the regular business owner who are doing a great job and have so many good insights into business, into success, into habits, all of these different aspects. And so, interestingly enough, this week, we don't have a guest, and just for some scheduling conflicts and problems. But what we thought was, one of the reasons we have business owners on is to learn from them, learn about business, about entrepreneurship, about tactics, strategies. And so we thought maybe we should do something content-wise and educational that's really being relevant for this time of year and around the idea that is pretty universal, which is growth. So many of our clients, everybody's looking to grow their business. Now, whether that means increasing the revenue and increasing the profits, or they're growing their team and how to manage all of that growth, how to handle finances as the company grows. So many of the difficulties and challenges in business really have growth of the company as an underlying thing, whether it's managing the fast growth or not growing fast enough and causing cash problems. So we really want to focus on that. And the time of year right now to plan and be strategic about your coming year, 2022, is so important. And so if anybody gets my newsletter or has seen the emails that come from me, one of the things I pointed out was like, look, you're down to the last 3 weeks here now before the holiday season. And so I really want you to focus on what are those key things to execute. So assuming you're doing that, now what I want you to be able to do is really step back, and the growth hacks we're going to talk about are really ways that things you can apply any time of the year, but I think are really, really relevant right now as we all start to use this time when others are slowing down, to use the time to plan and be strategic about what we're going to be doing into the coming year. So for a second, maybe let me step back and let's talk about areas to be thinking about, because as I go through the growth hacks, I want you to be thinking about them and how their application might be in any of these areas. But also when I say to people, let's talk about planning for the new year, let's talk about planning for the next quarter, sometimes people say, well, all right, well, what do you want me to look at? And so the big 5 buckets that I think are really critical to be planning for are not rocket science, but they're this, and I'll walk through each one of them because there's a little bit of difference to them. The first is marketing. And obviously, how you're marketing your business becomes critical. I'm a huge advocate that marketing in your business needs to be a 365 event. You cannot market for a month and then turn it on and turn it off. Being out in the marketplace with a voice, with a presence all year is critical. The second place is sales and having some strategy that. The third is team. The fourth is finances. And the fifth, and I think this is one people don't catch, is innovation. And so I want to just to dive down a little bit before I get into the growth hacks to say, why these? And so the first one is marketing and sales, because they're really the drivers of business and growth. If you're doing a great job of marketing, it's going to feed your sales funnel, and your sales funnel. When you've got great sales and marketing, you've got sales and cash flow and everything's good. So you have to have a solid plan in marketing beyond, well, we're going to upgrade the website or we're making some changes. When you look at sales as the next piece, having a sales plan is really critical. And I don't just mean we want sales to go up. I mean a sales plan with a clear understanding of what sales levers to pull. And there's 5 levers that you can pull that are going to drive revenue, drive profits. And if you don't know what those 5 levers are, by all means, direct message me or email me at marty@martypark.com. And I will share some of that with you. So you've got those 5 levers. And by being able to have a plan where you know what you're going to do with each one of those levers can drive that piece of the business. The next thing is team. And people say, well, what do you want me to do in terms of planning around team? And this is the idea that you should have a hiring plan for the coming year. What roles are they going to have? What does that look like? Who's going to be shuffled in the organization? How are the improvements going to be made with the team in terms of performance? The culture, right? Evaluating like what culture are we consciously creating and have we been doing enough to drive that? What is the budget for people? When you think about who's getting a raise, adding people to the team, I literally had somebody talking about, we've got to add 5 more people. And I said, what's that going to cost? And they said, I don't know. I was like, well, people is the biggest cost to a business in most cases. So having a people budget becomes a critical piece to your hiring and to your planning. And then the last piece is just that performance. How do I get a little bit more from everybody in the organization? Finances as the fourth area to consider is really this idea of know your numbers. Know your numbers cold. Have reporting on a weekly, bi-weekly basis that really gives you the heartbeat of the business. In planning that out, knowing what you might need for cash and growth in the coming year, what you want to spend money on, what you're going to budget on marketing, all of these things, and really diving into that. I've just finished my deep dive into my own projections for the business, and it really gives me a sense of confidence into the new year. So, and then the last one that I love is the idea of innovation. And innovation is how do you outperform, and often outperform by out-innovating your competition. I presume in most industries, because I see it over and over again, that the competition is going to show up and be like, well, let's do business like we did last year. And you end up doing business the same way. If you're able to take 1 or 2 innovations every single month and apply that to the business, at the end of the year, you have 24 ways you've innovated the business. It is so impacting. And you look at that and you say, well, and they don't have to be big things. These can be minor changes to the customer experience, to your pricing, to your sales methodology, to your marketing, to your people inside the organization. It doesn't need to be a big, massive overhaul of something. It is just small, continuous improvement. It really is that sense of Kaizen. So keeping in mind that innovation is so important, because if you don't innovate, you keep doing what you've always done and you're going to get what you always get, right? So we're going to try and change the results by changing the innovation inputs. And so those are the 5 areas when I think about these growth hacks, but also this time of year and planning for the new year in your business. This is why it becomes so critical. So let's dive in and let's talk about those 5 growth hacks. The first one I'm going to talk about is the idea of 10 times thinking. Now, there's lots of big names that do this. Grant Cardone always talks about 10 times in your business. Peter Diamandis talks about 10 times thinking. And I love the concept. Now, even if your business is $2 million, 10 times thinking doesn't mean you need to go to 20 million. So it's not the pressure to actually achieve that number, but what it does is it shifts and adjusts your thinking about the business. And what I mean by that, if I say to you, hey, I want you to get a 10% or a 20% increase in sales, an increase in business this coming year, oftentimes what we talk about and where we immediately start to think is, what can we do more of? Well, how can we do more of this? How can we sell a little bit more to clients? How can we do a little bit more? And so the challenge becomes is we keep the model for our business exactly the same, but we think, how can we just work a little harder? How could we just do a little more of the exact same thing? Soon as we shift our business to be able to say, what we now are going to look at is the business being 10 times the size. So the business being 10 times the production, 10 times the inventory, 10 times the orders, 10 times the paperwork. Now, all of a sudden, you're forced to be able to think, okay, is that the way I want the business to go? And so the thing I like about this is now, instead of thinking about more, I have to be thinking about different. How are we going to do the business different? I had a client where they said, well, we get 5 orders now and we can manage that pretty well. And I said, what now if we look at 50 orders a day? And they said, oh, there's no way we could do that with our current model. We would need to automate. We would need to systemize. We would need to add people. Right. All of those key changes are going to come about because now you're thinking about the business at 10 times the size. You don't need to execute every one of those things, but it really forces you to get outside of the box of your current thinking about the business. Otherwise, year after year, we're trapped in what didn't I get done and what do we want to do more of to get that incremental increase. If we really want to double the business, we have to be thinking differently than the model we're in now, which is 10 times the thinking. So 10x your thinking is my first growth hack in your planning for 2022. But really, it could be April and the middle of the second week of April on a Tuesday. And you can check in and say, hey, when was the last time I thought about 10 timesing my business? And based on today, what would I change? That is a great growth hack and approach to things that is going to dramatically change the results that you create in your business. The second piece is what I call a prosperity wheel. And the prosperity wheel is really the idea that on the sales and marketing side, that there has to be different components that are all moving, and you are putting time and effort and budget into all of these different pieces all of the time. Too often, there is one way that somebody is driving business, and they haven't got a whole wheel. It's a little bit like they've got the wagon wheel, and it's got a couple of aspects, but it's got a flat side. I need this wheel to be able to really operate from 5 perspectives. And let me walk you through each one of those. The first is the idea of pipeline. And so pipeline is about all the people that you've sent quotes to or proposals and that you have in a database that are sort of your active clients. Very often we find that people have interacted, have sent that proposal out, and it's quiet and they're not doing the proper follow-up. There's actually business to be had there where people haven't made a buying decision, haven't picked a competitor, and they just need the prompting. They need the follow-up to keep moving. In your pipeline, in your CRM, there is business there. And we look to be able to say, what can we do as an improvement in following up with people? Usually following up more and more times with different channels, phone, email, text. But going after that, and what we find is people say, actually, we haven't made a decision, but thanks for checking back in. And it reignites people that are already in the pipeline. So that's the first piece of that, your overall wheel. The second piece is the idea of database. So many businesses where we say, do you have anybody in a database with emails or phone numbers? And they say, yeah, we've got about 2,800 past clients over the last 10 years. We go back to say, how are we engaging? How do we get back in front of regularly that database of people? Because there's past clients who will re-engage with the business. There are people there that maybe have forgotten about you, didn't know how to reach you. Who knows? But there is opportunity. And what we find is when we implement that idea of going back to work the database and create engagement and relationship again with people, it not only drives referrals, but it drives those people back into the business. And so the first two pieces are your active pipeline, but also your sort of dormant database and the amount of business that's potentially in there. Now, the third piece of the prosperity wheel is really the idea of active clients. So this is your active clients who are already engaged in buying from you. But oftentimes there's huge opportunity to get those active clients buying more, buying different things from your business, adding another product, adding one more service that you offer. And I like this story or this idea of if you and I went into Home Depot or we went into Lowe's or one of the big box stores. And as a guy, if I have to paint something, I'm going in looking for a paintbrush and a can of paint. And if the person at Home Depot says, hey, can I ask you some questions or can I help you with this checklist? Do you need a drop cloth? Oh, yeah, I do. Stir sticks? Oh, yeah, you better throw a couple of those in. What about turpentine? Oh, yeah, I probably need that too. Tape. And they could make a whole list of things. I will end up buying probably 3 times as much product as an active client in that transaction. And one of the things is I will come away feeling like I've actually gotten better service and I'm more valuable as a client because somebody's taken me the time to, in fact, increase what I'm spending as an active client. Now, it's a funny dichotomy. You think, well, if I'm almost forcing them to spend more, you think they would see it as a negative. But customers appreciate your guidance and ability to offer them more things that are collaborative. A product that collaborates with one of your services, an additional product. It's why Staples so often just has that extra add-on at the counter. Grab a handful of pens for $2, but they recognize this. The average order is $20 to $24. That $2 is a pretty substantial increase as a percentage of that active sale. So there's all sorts of ways to improve that with the active client. The fourth piece of the prosperity wheel is the idea of inbound leads. And this really points to marketing. And what I'm getting at here with marketing is that whether it's for your website, maybe it's AdWords that are going to drive more traffic to your website or into your store. Maybe it's online social media ads. It's more social media. It can be more activity from your salespeople, whether it's phone activity or email work, whatever they're using. But we're really trying to increase the activity level so that we're stuffing more inbound, new, fresh leads and contacts into the business. This is a real failing with a lot of businesses where they are dependent on, we hope past clients continue to come back. We hope maybe they refer people if we do a good job. Otherwise, we're just literally sitting around waiting for new business. Inbound leads as a part of your prosperity wheel is taking control of what are we doing in our marketing and our sales activity to drive new people. I mean, really from a salesperson perspective, it could be getting out to a new networking function, a B&I meeting. It could mean like there's so many ways that and tactics that I can use that drive inbound leads. So, but one of the pieces is having an active plan in your 2022 plan, but at any point for your sales initiatives that you know how you're driving leads and you in fact measure some of that. The last place I'll talk about, and the fifth piece of the prosperity wheel, is the idea of active referrals. Now, so many businesses say, a lot of our new customers come from referral, which is great. But I would say 9 out of 10 times when we ask companies and owners, tell us about your active referral program, they don't have one. And the active referral program is really first off driven by gratitude and thank you when people do refer, in hopes, of course, that we encourage that behavior and that they refer more and more. But it's also people understanding how to refer business to you. Oftentimes they don't know, or customers all the time say things like, well, you guys were so busy, I didn't think you needed more business. Or I just presumed you were doing so well, it never occurred to me to refer people. When the active referrals is really getting people to become raving fans and advocates for your business that are helping push more business in. And surprisingly, again, our customers are more than willing to be engaged. If you do a great job of delivery, they like your business and you, their ability to be able to push more referrals and more good quality leads into the business and sales into the business is exceptional. So you go through pipeline, database, your active clients, inbound leads, and active referrals. And now you have what I call the prosperity wheel. If you have a plan for each one of those 5 points, that is my numbers 2 growth hack for planning and for growth and success into the new year. Really, again, at any time you could use this. It could be the middle of summer on a beach. But if you start to think in terms of the prosperity wheel in these 5 areas, you're going to see that kind of growth. So the third piece that I want to talk about as a third growth hack is that you have to organize the business to not include you or without you. And what I mean by that is that so often we see that in the funnel of things, the bottleneck at the bottom of that funnel, or I think of it as almost like the skinny waist bottleneck of a business is actually the owner, right? Where so much information has to flow through them, they make decisions, then it flows out to the rest of the company. And if you can structure a business so that you don't have that bottleneck in the middle, it allows for ongoing growth. I just talked to a gentleman out of Toronto and he had said, listen, we've had exceptional growth over the last 8 years. And if we keep growing at this pace, in 2 years, it's going to kill me. And he was quite literal about the fact, like the strain on him as that person where he said, all of the staff, everything they deliver has to go through me. Everything on running the business goes through me. He effectively is the bottleneck. So the big growth hack here is starting to be able to say, what do I do as the owner with my time? Where am I spending? What are my tasks? Where am I spending my time? And being able to figure out who you can start to hand that stuff off to, or at least have somebody who's starting to learn that area of the business and create some redundancy for you, the owner. First, this creates a little bit of time freedom where now you can start to step away from the business because the team has some idea how to do everything that you normally do. But it also is the ability to be able to say, if the business runs and we can keep scaling it and adding people to fulfill all the different functions, then it doesn't become dependent on the owner. And that bottleneck, that limiter on growth is no longer the owner. And that is something that we see all the time as owners make that shift to the business continues to scale and it's not putting more pressure on them in terms of time and effort. It's almost like they don't believe it. Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm actually have more time off than before, but the business is continuing to grow. And for me, that's such a satisfying tipping point where it's like, yes, now the business has that, it's sort of pulled away from you as that centerpiece, or it's no longer has that dependency. That is the third growth hack. So maybe it starts by being able to say, okay, what am I doing? And are there any of these small tasks I can start to hand off to other people, train people up? This might take time for you to unload all of your different tasks or to get the right people in place in your people plan to start to replace all your tasks and functions. Might take all of the coming year, but it's amazing how getting some of that time back so that you can be strategic starts to be so significant. You get some time back, you can spend more time 10 times thinking. And now all of a sudden you really start to hit that acceleration of growth. And that's why number 3, organizing the business without you, is a growth hack to your 2022 planning and beyond. The fourth one I want to talk about is the idea of condensing time. And everybody, I think, has heard that idea that a task will fill up the time allotted, or the more time you have, the more time it takes to do a task. And I like the idea that, and the story I'd maybe tell is, and the way I demonstrated this at a conference was with people walking up to the stage. And so what I'd done was, I said at the break, I said, I need 2 volunteers, and 2 people came up. And the first person, I said to the gentleman, listen, when we come back into session, I'm going to call you up to the stage and I want you to run as fast as possible. And he said, okay, sure, I can do that. And then I said to the lady, I said to the other person, listen, I'd like you to just walk up, come up to when I call you up, just walk up to the stage. And she said, okay. So at the end of the break, I said, listen, I've asked for 2 volunteers. Can you please now come up to the stage? And one guy came racing up out of his seat. The other person, she almost sauntered up. And the one gentleman raced up. He and I are standing now waiting for the other person. And I pointed out to the crowd, the only difference was the instructions I provided. I set the expectation on speed of things. And what I found is that so often we give tasks to our team and we allow the time to be filled with those tasks. And so what I want to encourage is a little bit of acceleration once in a while, short sprints where you are moving fast enough and you've got to get a whole lot of stuff done in the next 48 hours. I have a longtime friend who's a software developer, and he always talks about a 6-week development cycle where for 6 weeks they are working like crazy. And not only they are accelerating and really, really working hard through that 6-week period, but in the final days, on the last Friday of the deadline, they may be working till midnight or 2 a.m. But there's no way they are not achieving their goal in at the end of that 6 weeks. There's only one option, and it is completion. And then they have a little bit of a break and rest, and then they move on to the next acceleration or next sprint. That has been it's so effective in software development. But I love the idea that you should think about this growth hack of where can I condense time? Where can I accelerate time for my team? And this a good example for me in the past was payroll. I had somebody who was taking 6.5 hours to do payroll. They went on vacation. I took it back for a week, and I was able to get it done in a week and a half or an hour and a half. And I thought, wait, it takes an hour and a half, but it's taking 6.5 for them. Why is that? And the key reason was that I was allowing it. They were allocated a day a week to do payroll, or a day every second week. And I realized, I've given them the time freedom. As soon as we condensed that back to, you need to get this done within 2 hours, it started to take an hour and 45 minutes. And so you look at all the places in your business where you could say, look, we could get all this done by Friday. Let's do this on a 2-week sprint. We're going to do this whole program and campaign, and we're going to get it done a week Friday. So create intensity, create acceleration, and create those almost a challenge. Sometimes if you can do it with your team where it's a challenge and you can say, I don't think we can do this. Let's push and see if we can achieve it. It becomes such an effective way to not only accelerate change and innovation and getting things done, but it's also a chance to celebrate. We've done it. We've reached our goal. And these types of sprints, exciting time in the business, improve performance, but also improve the idea of the team coming together to achieve something. So that's my fourth, is this idea of accelerate or condense time with your business. Run versus walk. The last thing I want to talk about is breaking down the plan into smaller and smaller pieces. So often strategic planning is broken out into, okay, this is everything we're going to achieve next year. And you have to break that down. And I like the traction model. I think it's Gino. I've forgotten Gino's last name, the author. But I like the traction model, which is figuring out on a quarterly basis, what are your rocks, right? From the year to the quarter, what are those big rocks, those big milestones and achievements that you want to have in the business? I like the idea that taking that one step further, because sometimes those big rocks, people don't really know what's involved. They set it up. And so as an example, maybe it is creating a new website. But when you really break it down into week to week to week, what needs to happen? People sometimes don't realize all the work involved. It sounded easy, but when you break it down, it's not 1 week of work. It's actually 6 weeks of work. And so I like the idea that we break down quarterly what are our objectives. We take the year and we say, what are we going to do in the first quarter? What are we going to do in the second quarter? Q3, Q4. And what you're going to find is there's 16 things in Q1 and there's 3 in Q3. And so you have to look and say, okay, what things, there's no way we'll get all this done at the beginning of the year. So what things do we need to move to the second quarter? What needs to move to the third quarter? It forces you to start to prioritize. And then I like the idea of breaking down that first quarter into each month. What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to get done? What are the steps we'd have to have in January, in February, in March, in Q1? Then even if you really want to be maniacal about it, and this is where I really love it, is if you break that down into tasks per week and are actually able to lay out those tasks per week, you really get a sense of where all your priorities in marketing, sales, people, finance, innovation start to overlap. And that's where you start to see where, man, there's no way in week 6 we're going to be able to get all this done, or we've got a glut of too many actions, and you start to spread it out and you realize, oh, we are too ambitious. The actual things we can execute are less than what we've documented here or what we're doing. And so it really allows, when you break it down from annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, that people can see the bite-size tasks that need to take place. And they can also be able to establish where there's too much work, where things need to be pushed out to the next quarter or the next month. My coach, Steve, does a great job where he actually takes a giant piece of butcher paper and he lays it on the wall. And then he draws little columns, and each column represents a week. And then sticky notes go in each column, different color sticky notes for each of those segments, sales, marketing, different aspects of the business. But you visually then, as you stick those Post-it notes all over week after week, you create almost a parade of sticky notes that runs along the wall. But you can quickly see like, whoa, week 14 here, we have 19 sticky notes. Well, that's never going to get done. And it allows you to really physically see and touch this whole planning system. And so that's called just the butcher paper exercise. And I'm glad to share some of that with anybody on how to set that up. But I think what happens is not the planning side, but as you get into really good planning, assuming you use these hacks and you look at those areas of the business, you get into the new year and execution is where things really start to fall down in terms of growth. And so if you can move from planning to rocks and focus to then into the weekly, it's really, really great because now execution isn't falling off the track. It is being managed week after week. The last thing I'd also state about this is not only how that planning really gets us into execution and helps spot over estimation, but that when you do all of that breakdown, one of the things I've seen with people dealing with a lot of corporate teams and stuff is so often they're judged based on yes or no. Is it done or is it not done? Is the website done? It's not. Okay, so it's a fail. And there's a lot of judgment that comes with done and not done. I love the idea that if, let's say we're rebuilding the website and it's gone from 20% to 55%, by measuring it in percentages, we really can celebrate like, whoa, that's a big jump. Even if it's only moved a little bit, you can celebrate the improvement of any one of your big milestones, your big projects for the quarter, the rocks, or to be able to take those down to the tasks. So often if something is from 0 to 99%, the website is completely finished, we're ready to launch it. And somebody says, well, is it done? And you say, well, no. You can imagine how demoralizing that is for the team. And I've seen it before with a managing partner at a firm where is it done? Is it done? Every question was, is it done? And there was no celebration of, look at all the good headway we're making on all these initiatives. So I love the idea. And demoralizing to the team. They'd come out completely deflated from these meetings, like we're failing it everywhere. So instead, being able to celebrate the improvements in every one of those areas as a percentage. We were at 5%, we're at 10. Okay, are you still on track with this project? Keep it moving. And I have a whole structure I can share with you. Again, if you want more about the planning process, DM me or email me, and I can follow up and share that with you. So those are my big 5 hacks, right? That it is the 10 times thinking. It is the prosperity wheel and having each one of those 5 components going. It is organizing the business without you. It is condensing time or accelerating time. And it is taking the year and breaking it down into the week, certainly into the month, but getting to an execution schedule so that you can really see and celebrating the improvements and the small gains as a percentage with every one of the things you're trying to achieve in your business and with your team throughout the year. So what I'd like to be able to do is say, if you want more information on this, by all means, if you want notes, you can leave a comment below to receive notes from this. Again, you can message me, but I'm going to outline all of these the content and ideas and be able to share it with you as an audience. If you're interested in seeing more of this, you can follow me on Instagram, and or you can sign up on Instagram in my bio. You can be able to sign up to our newsletters where we give a lot of content, a lot of good ideas, and share just things that we think are interesting with entrepreneurs. So again, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I really love being able to share things like growth hacks, and I hope, and I'd ask you to be able to take time now, plan your 2022, apply these ideas in these different areas, right? Your sales, your marketing, your people, your finance, your innovation. Be able to take those 5 hacks and start to utilize them now. Engage your managers or key people with these ideas, and you will find the difference in the execution and the growth of your business in 2022 is exceptional. I hope this helps. Make today great.